What's going on YouTube? I wanted to do a video about the Dart Zone Pro Mark 1.1. So I know this blaster has been out for a while. I haven't really seen it at many wars that I've checked out online, either with videos or in photos. I generally see 3D printed blasters out there, which are the rage at the moment. This was something that, was one that I really wanted to get because it was, very interesting to me. But I know that there were also issues with it that myself and others have experienced. One of the big ones is that once you prime the blaster, you cannot deprime it. You have to dry fire. That's obviously a big scary thing for a lot of people. So dry firing is obviously bad. Another one is with the safety switch being on only for right-handed users. For those who are left-handed, this can be a little bit of an issue. I know Syke did a video where he switched this onto the other side. The other thing with priming is that this has a lot of slop in it because the assembly travels back and forth within the blaster. There's this has a really, not big, but it has a lot of movement to it that that can have a lot of slop. So I did at some point, once I got this and used it for a little bit, I definitely wanted to at some point open it up and check it out, see what I can do with it, just because I haven't seen a lot of tutorials for modifications. A lot of the modifications were basically replacing all the plastic internals with metal parts. There were a couple that I'd seen where you can replace the spring and basically brass the barrel. But I just wanted to kind of see what else there was, if there was a way to be able to get this to deprime, and I wanted to put in a delete for the safety. So once I opened up the blaster, I went ahead and took the stock safety switch and did all my measurements and did all my test pieces, and I created this, which you can see is a little bit shorter, and the slot in the middle is a little bit narrower, and it's all in one, just kind of one block of plastic. And with this inside the blaster, you can see this is flush on both sides, so this safety is no longer there, which is nice. Still have the trigger pull there. It doesn't catch on the new safety switch, and that's all set. The other thing that I had seen was, if I were to make this only compatible with half darts, would that change anything? And so I created this piece here, this little tube, which fits around the spring tube and rests right next to the plunger assembly, and then also against the back of the blaster. So this effectively traps or, keeps the plunger assembly from moving. So that means that this blaster would only be able to accept half darts. It no longer is able to take full-length darts. So I put that in, I put this in. I didn't really want to mess with the plunger tube itself. Like, I thought about opening that up, putting Teflon tape in there to get a better seal. I don't know if that's really necessary. A couple people I talked to said it really isn't. So, I said I'll just leave that for somewhere down the road. So what happened, I put this all together. Obviously this works great. And then I found out that I also get this benefit. So you get a lot less travel in the prime, obviously, so this doesn't go back. You can see here, this doesn't go all the way back because of it's being there. Now it's forward and it's all set, but then, so now I am able to deprime my blaster. I do not know if the combination, or I don't know if one or the other of these modifications would get the same effect of being able to deprime. Like if you only put this in, would that still work? Or if you only put in a new safety, would that work? I didn't test it, probably should have, but I don't have that answer. But luckily, having these two in there now allows me to deprime my blaster. I do not have to dry fire it. The only nitpick now that I have, at least on this, is that I have to make sure that this travels all the way forward, because now you have just this a little amount of slop left. So after you prime your blaster, you need to make sure to push this all the way forward, because if you don't, obviously you lose the seal from the plunger tube out here to the barrel. But it was honestly a great surprise when I put this together and found that I could deprime this blaster. So that was awesome and great, and that's all I got for you guys today. So if you're looking for additional modifications, if you actually have this blaster, I would highly suggest printing out, designing or getting a delete, and then getting a spacer for the travel. So the only thing on this spacer that I did was, obviously one side is flat, the other side is chamfered here to fit around the tube. When you have the assembly that's attached to the tube, you'll see there's a little ramp that goes between the two when they're connected. So just made this just to make sure that this can fit directly there, and it's very snug. I'll post up a picture so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. And in this picture, I was just doing my test fit with the new delete and with the spacer itself, and worked great. I have no complaints about those. So now, I might look at other modifications for the barrel, for the spring, and get some performance out of this now that I have functionally a blaster that I feel is a little bit more to my liking. Just wanted to interrupt myself and do a little bit more of a quick thing on the Mark 1.1. So I was in a war just recently with my modified Mark 1.1, and I found that the ranges I was getting were very inconsistent. They were kind of like pretty far, and then they would just kind of get progressively lower and lower, and I was struggling out there with the range of this thing. And what I realized was that, in my tests of this, I'm using brand new, fresh, nice round darts. And as we all know, in a war, darts get stepped on, they're misshapen, they get a little dirt in them, they get bent, and you're plugging them into your clips or your magazines as much as you can, so they get squished a little bit. You jam them in the blaster, and I believe that this, with the aluminum barrel, is not getting a great seal with basically used darts, which is not ideal if you have to use fresh darts for this thing every time. So I do have some brass coming in. Gonna just try to jam it in there, see what it takes, and see if that works with used darts, if I get better consistency and better performance out of this thing that I would like to get. But overall, not having to worry about the safety switch and having a smaller prime length was really helpful. Really enjoyed it. Now I just have to get this thing to be a bit more consistent and have the range that you expect it to be having for the blaster that it is, and I think this thing will be a great primary for me to have. Anyway, back to it. I hope that has helped some of you out there who have the Mark 1.1, and that's all I got for you guys today. See you later.